What's up everyone, hope you're all well. Yeller here, and today the Big Yeetus patch dropped. I was expecting this on Wednesday, and I was really surprised and happy to see that it dropped today, so I'm actually going to be showing gameplay of every change they made to all of the levels, and they changed a lot. Around half of the levels now have variations, which makes me excited to play the game again. And now, before we get into that, here's what Mediatonic posted as the patch notes. As you can see, anti-cheat is now in, which is great for our PC friends. Stability has been greatly improved. Fall ball is now changed from 2 minutes instead of the 2.5 that it was previously, and they've lowered the minimum player count required for certain levels. In other words, now you can get 4v4v4 and egg scramble, and it's pretty crazy. So before we get into it, if you like the video, toss it a like, and if you're new here and would like to see more detailed Fall Guys content going forward, consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. Let's get into it. So first, I want to list off the levels that have remained the same and have 0 changes. That's going to be all of the tail games, Jump Club, Roll Out, Tiptoe, Hoopsie Daisy, Jump Showdown, Hexagon, Fruit Shoot, Jinx, and Block Party. I guess it is possible that some of those levels do have variations that I haven't seen yet, but I played quite a bit this morning and I wanted to go ahead and get this out, so I do believe those levels are unchanged. So let's go ahead and get started with a level that I actually hated until this morning. Fall Mountain has been changed so much. There's different variations, and basically you'll see here that there's bumpers that can go from side to side. Some runs, those were gone. These hammers can go different directions than they're used to now. There's a big hammer right there to the left that I avoid. I tried it in one round and didn't find any use for it. And then finally, there's hammers up here at the top. Now again, all of these are variations that can happen. I had some runs where there weren't any bumpers. I tried using this big hammer right here, which you'll see I didn't find any use for it. So don't expect to get this every single time you get Fall Mountain, but it's still a very welcome change to the level. Now, DoorDash is the next level I want to talk about. This level actually has 2 major changes. The first being now that there are moving donuts, which can prevent you from moving forward as well, and this should ensure if you're in the front and get stuck in a pileup, you don't necessarily get eliminated since there shouldn't be as many people grouped up together. Now, the second change I only saw 1 time out of the 5 times that I ended up getting this level this morning, and that's Big Yeetus can appear at the end of the level as shown here, and you can use that to jump so far ahead of everyone else and catch up. I think this is a really good change and will make the level pretty interesting. The next level I want to talk about is Perfect Match. I was scouring the forums this morning to see what other people had found, and everyone said this level was unchanged. I actually found something that I think is pretty interesting and I don't quite understand it. You're going to see right here, everything is grape for me. Every single picture I have is grape. Now it goes orange, and watch how many oranges pop up. Watch. Look at that. So I don't quite understand this change in Perfect Match. I think what happens is maybe you don't see exactly what they are and you have to trust the other players. I only saw this happen 1 time and I got this level about 4 or 5 times. I'm really interested to see how this affects the level and what comes out of this, but this is one of the more intriguing changes and I hope they do things like this going forward. Next, let's go ahead and talk about Hoarders. Hoarders has 2 changes that have happened, and you can get either one. You don't necessarily get both of them at the same time, like shown here. I had one run where I only had these moving donuts, and then I had another run where I only had the hammers. This makes this level absolutely crazy. I used to feel pretty confident about winning this level and helping my team win, but with these changes, I'm not sure there's anything you can do to guarantee you'll help your team win. Again, these moving donuts and the hammers, if you get them both in the same run, the game is just absolutely crazy. Now, let's talk about Slime Climb. Slime Climb can have a lot of very minor changes. The first being that these beams actually can change speeds from the normal speed, so you want to be very careful if you're trying to speedrun it. Secondly, it can now shoot rolling logs instead of balls, as shown here. On top of that, at the very end of Slime Climb, you'll see here I get eliminated because usually you can stay to the far edge of that and those balls won't hit you. It seems like they extended the range to make sure that you actually have to take your time. Other changes to Slime Climb include the hammers going different directions than they normally would, and the balls at the end being changed to donuts. I've also heard the balls at the end can sometimes become spinning hammers. That isn't something I've seen just yet for myself, but I only got this level about 5 times this morning. Next, let's touch on Egg Scramble really quickly. There's nothing inherently different about the level at all. However, now you can have 4 people per team minimum, which if you get 4 people, it changes the game entirely. I'd probably only recommend putting 2 people on offense and have the other 2 play defense the entire time just to make sure your basket doesn't get emptied out. Next is going to be the level Seesaw. Surprisingly, this is one of the more interesting levels now. It has a lot of variations that can happen, and you'll see at the start of this round, the seesaws are entirely different positions than normal. On top of this change, you can have Big Yeetus spawn near the end. The second set of seesaws can now tilt far enough to where you fall off and you're not necessarily safe to walk up them. And finally, probably the biggest change, you can have forward-facing seesaws. This makes the end of the level pretty fun, as you have to figure out the right balance between staying back, but also figuring out when you need to push forward so you can get across and qualify. Again, I do want to stress that not all of these changes will happen in the same run. These are just variations that can happen during the run, and you can have any mix of these happen at any time. Next, let's talk about Gate Crash real quick. This level, the gates used to move at the same speed on the same rotation to where it was just the same every single time. You'll see here that the gates are actually moving in a pattern we haven't seen before. Now, this isn't the only pattern. They actually change every single time you go in from what I've seen. You can still get the old standard version, but that only happened one time out of about the 6 runs I got. The other big thing is the speed here at the end. With these gates, they no longer always go slow. Sometimes they will be going faster and you'll have to time your jump differently to qualify. Another level that got a major overhaul is the level Hit Parade. This level can now have swinging balls at the beginning over the beams. The walls you push can now become spinning beams instead. The balls after the wall can now swing vertically instead of horizontally. You can also now get hammers at the end instead of it just being donuts. And on top of all of these changes, just like in Slime Climb, you can no longer be completely safe walking up the edge of the slime at the end of the level. The donuts now go all the way to the end. Whirligig was changed slightly. It seems now the beams can spin in different directions at the start or the end of the level, and sometimes you'll have hammers after the fans. Really, there wasn't too much of a change here. Now Fall Ball, that appears to have a few different variations, but so far I've only been able to see one. Not only can Fall Ball drop footballs, soccer, and a rare golden egg, now it appears it can randomly drop bananas that are also worth 1 point. On top of all that, it's reported you can have a small rotating platform in the middle of the level spawn, or 2 wrecking balls in goal to help be goalie. Again, I have not seen those, but I do believe they're in there. Now, Dizzy Heights, this level also has a lot of variations that can happen at any point. The platforms can spin in different directions than normal, meaning there's no more optimal path at the beginning, and you no longer have to use the right side of the spinners to make it across as quick as possible. On top of that, Big Yeetus can spawn at the gap where the final jump is. You can have wrecking balls above the spinning platforms at the end, and sometimes instead of balls being shot, fruit will be shot instead. On top of all that, there is a certain situation that only happened once, and that's where you have to drop down and use the bottom path, and there are no spinners at the top. Again, I only saw this happen once, so I was really confused in this clip. And finally, Rock and Roll. I got Rock and Roll a couple times, but never got the variation, so I'm not sure how rare it is. Basically, where the lines are here, at the end, you'll have moving donut poles like in the other levels, and those help stop the ball from going in. So that's going to be it for the mid-season update. Like I stated earlier, it is possible I missed something, and if so, I'll try and get that out in a future video. This update has really motivated me to play a lot more again, and I'm glad they're doing things like this to keep the game fresh and exciting. One other quick note, they didn't fix the block party glitch, which I was really hoping they would, but hopefully they can fix that in a future update. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please toss it a like, consider subscribing if you're new, and let me know what level you all think they did the best on in the comments below. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you next time.